Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 16 in the NFL. This is going to be our final recap of the season here. Today's episode and tomorrow's episode, as fantasy championships are wrapping up today. It's crazy that we actually made it this far. I'm actually surprised the fantasy season actually happened, which that right there was a plus. It was an odd one, but hey, it worked out. We're here. So we're going to go through 7 games today. We're going to go through 7 games tomorrow. So if you don't, hear the game you want to hear on today's episode, just tune in tomorrow. We'll have it for you. So we're going to start this thing off. First game, Falcons, Chiefs. Chiefs get the 17-14 win. It wasn't a great win for them, but they keep doing it. It's funny. They're now 14-1, but I feel like they haven't been necessarily dominant recently. Not all the time, but hey, they're 14-1. They're still better than anybody. In this one, Mahomes, again, his completion percentages numbers haven't been great a couple of these, couple weeks lately, but hey, I guess it doesn't really make too much of a difference. 278, 2 touchdowns. So it wasn't like this massive fantasy day, but I guess it gets the job done enough. So I guess the story in this one was there's no Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so we're thinking, okay, Le'Veon Bell's finally going to get his chance, right? And no, he was second fiddle to Darrell Williams today. I don't know what happened to Le'Veon Bell. I thought, if the guy could still play, this would be the spot to show it. And, there's something there that why I don't know. Andy Reid doesn't even give him a chance really today. It's odd. So, I don't know what happened to him.
I don't either. It is what it is. He's just not the player he used to be, whatever it may be. Maybe he's not blocking the way. Maybe he hasn't picked up the whole package the way he needs to. I'm not too worried about it. Let's be honest. If you're at this point, Bell is not the key to your success. So no biggie. But it's interesting for next year, I guess, a little bit. Is Le'Veon completely washed up? And I mean that in all due respect. I don't think so, but can he ever be a marquee player again? I think that is,
It's crazy how quickly this stuff happens. We'll be going into next season talking about, first off, Bell and Gurley, both, we're going to be they really do seem washed up, which is crazy. It happens that quick. And then the question will be, wait, is Zeke washed up too already? It happens so quickly in fantasy. It's crazy. So, it'll be interesting to hear what goes on next year. In this one, Kelsey, also 7 for 98 and a touchdown. That guy's good. He's really good. He's going to be, people are going to put him in that end of first round list next year. They really will. With this kind of the advantage you have at tight end with Travis Kelsey right now is just ridiculous. I'm not going to draft him that early, probably, most likely not. But in a auction league, I might go for it, honestly.
I'm not even gonna lie. Early second round,
the advantage he gives you, it's crazy.
It's quite possible, because if you can name me another tight end next year, even with anything that have happened, right, injury or just budding all-star, whatever it may be, name me another tight end that gives you that automatic advantage.
It's just not there.
Kittle.
We thought Kittle could get there, but the
injury he would be he would be the only one that would be in the conversation, but we're still waiting for it to happen. And he had one game this year. He had an injury, but I was personally the guy that was very close to putting Kittle over Kelsey. I was like, they're neck and neck. I put Kelsey, and this was 2 years ago, right? Not this year, 2 years ago. And he just didn't do it, and I kind of backed off of that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would do that now. So, age would be the only thing that is competing for that. Whereas kind of but you have Mahomes, you have everything in place. Watkins should be gone. So you have Tyreek Hill. But once again, these guys are not the possession wide receivers that you have. Kelsey is that guy. So I feel like next year, there's no doubt that come second round, I would, unless tight end has different rules, which we've seen before, but I have no doubt that I would probably be okay with that. That's how crazy tight end has gotten, and how bad, if I'm being completely honest. If we're looking at the tight end position, we could have a whole discussion on, who runs into that second tier and who runs into that third. and who is worth the money.
I mean,
but Travis Kelce is the only one that is, in that conversation of worthwhile.
He will be his own tier next year. And then it's Kittle.
Without doubt.
Kittle and Waller will be tier 2, probably.
Probably.
They're a good tier 2, obviously. Kelsey's just shown he's so far above everybody right now. Our pick of Kelce at number 5 and the Scott Fishbowl looks pretty good now.
Yeah, I mean, it got us to the semifinals. And
yeah, man. If Cam Newton had worked out, we had it right. We had Aaron Rodgers right. We just didn't have that next quarterback right.
We're close. Antonio Gibson, actually, it worked out really well. If he didn't get hurt for that week, we would have had a shot at it.
Disappointing. What next year? Well, hopefully be back next year in that thing. For Atlanta here, Matt Ryan threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. So solid game for Matt Ryan. One of those touchdowns went to Hayden Hurst, and the other one went to Laquan Treadwell. How about that? A former first-round pick of mine in a dynasty draft. I picked one spot ahead of Michael Thomas.
Not something to be happy about.
Well, luckily, I also had that pick, and I picked Michael Thomas as well. But I picked 7 and 8. I picked Treadwell and Michael Thomas. At least one of them worked out. Calvin Ridley didn't catch the touchdown, but he was caught 5 balls for 130 yards.
I'll tell you,
game there.
That guy, I will say, because he was obviously on a lot of people's, miles as far as the breakout player.
Yep.
He has absolutely lived up to the hype. He is crazy good. He's going to be a very, very high pick. We'll see what happens with that team next year. I mean, a lot of things could change, but Calvin Ridley should remain a staple. He's going to be very good for many years.
Not much from the rushing game. Ito Smith was the main back there, 10 for 46. Brian Hill was the second back. Gurley was now the third back. Wow. That's all I can say. I don't think he's going to be an Atlanta Falcon next year. I don't know where Gurley's going to be. This guy's 26 years old? How old is Gurley?
I don't know.
I got to look this up.
He's still pretty young. The only thing I can think of is you can get him at how old is he?
He's 26. He'll be 27 to start next year, and he's done already.
Well, we'll see. I do have to say this. You're on a bad team, right? The Atlanta Falcons were 4-10 before this, 4-11 now. Hey, maybe you can get him for a good contract and know that it did not matter how much you ran the ball with him, because he had a lot of touchdowns leading up for the first half of the year. I don't think he did not look washed up, and maybe the second half of the year definitely took a toll. I mean, that could be part of it, but I think it was also because they're bad. Yeah. So maybe they're taking off the pedal because they know they're getting a deal on him. They can sign him again and they can use him next year. That's what I'm hoping, but yours is probably more probable.
Yeah, it could be. All right, how about next up, Jets, Browns. Jets win again.
What happened?
The Browns don't want to make – I don't know. The Browns don't want to make the playoffs apparently either. They might not make the playoffs after this.
This is infuriating.
Sam Darnold did not want Trevor Lawrence anywhere near this team. He doesn't want Justin Fields anywhere near this team. So
I mean, you say that, but he was still only 50% completion.
Yeah, he wasn't very good.
2 touchdowns. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, but he's been
better.
Dog poo for the entire year. This is not saving his job.
No.
I'm just going to say it.
So Crowder threw a touchdown pass to Berrios, which was interesting, not bad. And Crowder also caught a touchdown pass and was 7 for 92. So he had a huge day.
Maybe he could play quarterback. His rating was 158.
he was in my DraftKings lineup today, so I felt pretty good about that.
Oh, that is a cheat code.
And then
threw a touchdown. You got to be kidding me.
Frank Gore led the attack 14 of 48 on the ground. There we go. And then, for the Cleveland, ugly here for Baker, 28 of 53, 285, no touchdowns, no picks. The running game, the yardage was just nothing. I mean, I guess we should say 2. They had no wide receivers for this game. I'll give them that, but still.
Very, very important to point out. I don't think this is completely Baker's fault. No. He still had 285 yards, which is very good, and no interceptions. He just couldn't turn it into touchdowns. Right. You don't have a Jarvis Landry. You obviously Beckham hurt way before this. You're really working with nothing. Yeah. And then when you can't get and they knew that. So they load up the box. They try to take him down, which they did. Very impressive. I mean, first of all, golf clap to them. Even when all they're going to do is run, it is very difficult to stop that rushing attack. And to keep Nick Chubb at 11 carries for only 28 yards and 1 touchdown, and Kareem Hunt for 4 to 11 and 1 touchdown. Very good by them. I mean, that is very difficult to do. I don't want to crap on the Jets more than they need to, because this was an excellent game played by them. But Browns should not still have lost. I mean, that is atrocious by them, but good for the Jets.
All right, next up, Pittsburgh Colts. Pittsburgh wins 28-24 here. Roethlisberger threw for 342 and 3 touchdowns, threw into Juju, Deontay Johnson, and Eric Ebron. Claypool was then 4 for 54, Juju 9 for 96, Deontay Johnson 8 for 75. They have good receivers, really. They're going to, it's a good group there. The running game's non-existent, though. James Conner led the way, 5 carries, 20 yards. It did get a touchdown if you happen to play James Conner, but they're just going to throw the ball now. Not much going on with that run.
Question. This is real football, so we take a little bit of a roundabout way, but I do wonder. I had a feeling that they were going to come back after that abysmal performance they had last time, right? And they've been on the slide. They were an undefeated team. Now they're 12-3, still very good. What do you like? How do you see them in the playoffs? Because you're absolutely right. Their defense, very, very good, as long as they're playing at their top thing. It might be, to the extent of phenomenal if they're playing at their extent. Their passing game can be very, very good as well. Their rush game, though, when it comes to playoff time and you have to rush the ball, how much does this actually hurt them in this new age football?
It can a bit. I mean, that defense, I think, is going to help them quite a bit. So I'm not – okay, also the first round is going to matter so much on who gets that 7 seed. Because right now it could be, if it's Miami or Cleveland, it would be an interesting game. If it's like Miami or the Colts again, they have a better chance. But if it ends up being Baltimore, I'm not so certain that Pittsburgh's getting by the first round if they're the 2 seed, which I think they will be. I would like to see them run a little bit better than this. If they could run the ball with that defense, this would be tough to beat. But obviously, their running game has just not been there these last few weeks. And maybe that's part of the reason they were losing. In this game, I thought maybe they're going to lose again. They were about to drop 4 straight. But, they pulled it off. But, yeah, they need to run a little better in this. How about for the Colts here? Rivers threw for 270, touchdown, a pick, threw the touchdown to Zach Pascal. Jonathan Taylor on the ground was 18 carries, 74 yards, 2 touchdowns, just keeps doing it. And I know John's probably not listening to this, but John, you screwed up taking Taylor out of that lineup and putting Kareem Hunt in. What a moron!
I don't know. Personally, I don't know why he did that. I was not about to text him and tell him what to do, but as soon as he texted that, I was like, that's the wrong move. That's not the way to go. Hunt is a very good player, but Jonathan Taylor is guaranteed. I mean, especially the last few weeks, I should say. I know Pittsburgh is very good, but that's where you overthink yourself.
Well, I was happy to see it happen to him. So.
Yeah, everyone is.
I'm still bitter from Amari Cooper a few years ago.
3 straight for the East. I'm just saying.
I'm still bitter about Amari Cooper. I'm sorry.
I'll cheer for my side. Why not?
I won't cheer for my side. All right. Next up, Bears, Jacksonville. Jacksonville wraps up the Trevor Lawrence #1 pick right there with that loss.
In an impressive way, by the way.
There we go. Trubisky threw for 265, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Montgomery just keeps it going. 23 carries, 95 yards, and touchdown. Not as great as some of the other games, but this is still, fantasy-wise, he's been great. But we knew he was going to be with the schedule he had. I'm not sold. I put some early 2021 rankings out just because it's always interesting to see what people think. And I believe I put Montgomery, which I don't even know if this might be too high. I put him 15 for next year, and people were.
That's about right. I would probably have him late teens.
Yeah. Well, I put him. I think let's see here, 15, and people were like, "Oh, he needs to be much higher." I don't think so.
I disagree. Yeah, I agree with you.
This was scheduled.
Yeah, here's the thing. You have a good schedule in the end, which is when he really did well. He didn't do well in the first half of the season. Yep. You also, I'm assuming, you probably get a passing game that is a little bit better than what you've been doing, even if you don't figure out your quarterback situation, even if it's the same ones. You should be a little bit better. They've been passing fine. They've been passing okay of late. But Allen Robinson is a huge part of that. I know that has been a contract dispute. I feel like, and you're only 8-7. It's not like you were some phenomenal team. I think Montgomery has been benefiting very much from that. And if they were even going to go that way, why wouldn't you add another running back? I know that sounds crazy, but if that's going to be your identity, yeah. You can't just have it Montgomery on his own as a bruiser, as a guy that can really pound it out. You would have to add someone. So I don't know. I like what he's done. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not a huge fan going into next year. I would love to have him as like a running back 3. That's a steal. Running back 2, I think you're taking your chances.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think this was so schedule based that he's going to get overhyped for next year, and not going to be somebody I'll have on my team. For Jacksonville, Glennon started, threw for 211, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, threw a touchdown to Chark, touchdown to Chenault. I like Laviska Shenault and Chark next year a lot better if they have Trevor Lawrence as quarterback. I mean, I'm not going to get overboard. Like, somebody was already asking today, like, where would we rank Trevor Lawrence for next year if he's with Jacksonville? And I mean, it's going to be like 20th, you know? Like, it's going to be like where we put Burrow this year, I'm guessing.
Yeah, here's the thing about quarterbacks especially. They go up a lot slower, unless you're a running quarterback. They go up a lot slower than the people around them. And what you said is dead on. Chark and Chenault, being young, talented wide receivers, they will get a huge bump from Lawrence, but he will not get that same kind of, disposition, because, hey, there, you have interceptions, you have a lot of things to learn, and you're probably still not going to be a great team. So, there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a reason why Aaron Rodgers and the same people show up in the top 10 almost every year, right? I mean, usually 7 out of 10 of them are the same.
Yep. And Justin Herbert was really, really good as a rookie this year, but that's not always normal. I'll say that. I don't expect like Trevor Lawrence to come in and be like what Justin Herbert did this year. And Justin Herbert had some really good receivers. I think Lawrence will have some good receivers, but they're not like Keenan Allen. So
he's a very interesting one. I mean, you bring that up. I think he surprised everyone, let's be honest, for how well he did. Where does he wind up next year?
I think he's a top 10 quarterback next year, the way he played. So.
I think I agree with that, but where in the top 10? I think this is where the difference is going to be, because you do have a lot of guys. I mean, is he going to be above Lamar Jackson? This is going to be the question.
No, so I don't have him above Lamar. This is where he either falls to me like, okay, I think I'd rather have him than Deshaun Watson, because I don't feel like Deshaun Watson really, I don't know. I mean, he has Will Fuller, but I don't know.
I actually agree with you. If they don't improve that wide receiving core,
that's where, as right now today, he's going to be, he's behind Mahomes and Kyler and Josh Allen and Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson for sure. And then he's going to be in that discussion with Deshaun and Aaron Rodgers and Dak coming back from the injury. He's right there with those guys, I think that's like he's in this. I mean, the quarterback, you can mix him around so many different ways on how you rank. I mean, Mahomes is clearly number one, right? Mahomes is number one, and then after that, I don't know what you want to do with it, honestly.
Yeah, right. I agree with you. I like that a lot. I like I think at the end of it, here's my worry. It's like when it comes to Herbert, he has outperformed everyone's expectations. I would put him in the top 10, which should be enough of a pat on the back. But I've also seen plenty of quarterbacks fall off second year. And I think that is a real possibility. Him and Dak, I think they're in the same discussion. I think I would, Watson is going to be one of those that I worry about. Yeah, I think because of the running ability and the fact that he's been able to make it work this year, I'd give him that, like, the slight edge. But those three, I think Aaron Rodgers is above him. But I think those three is going to be the interesting one, because Dak would be ahead, but that injury was severe.
I don't know if I trust that.
Yeah, and have people figured out Herbert, or will they be able to? You have half a year worth of footage to watch, and I don't want to keep bringing this up, but we saw how quickly they caught on to other quarterbacks, such as you saw how bad Daniel Jones was this year. We saw how poor Baker Mayfield was his second year, and he hasn't even gotten back to where he was his rookie year. Even this third, he's been better, but it hasn't been where he was at. That is a true possibility. So
look what happened to Carson Wentz.
I mean,
Jared Goff, it happened to Goff too. Happens to him a lot.
People like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. I mean, at this point, even Russell Wilson. Those guys that have been doing it for years now, you have to give them so much more credit, because it is just on them every year to improve and figure out different ways. You cannot take a year off. And that's why Peyton Manning, people like that, are so impressive. I mean, it also is why those guys always show up in the top 10 usually, right? And what was it, Aaron Rodgers? They thought, like, everyone was saying he fell off. I will proudly say we did not think he did. We were promoting him like crazy on this, but because he ended up number 11th last year or whatever it was. And, he had no help whatsoever. Devontae Adams was hurt half the year. And now it just shows like a good quarterback, truly good quarterback, is going to be a good quarterback.
Yep.
Herbert, a lot of talent. I don't think he's quite there yet. And I think he could be inside, outside of that top 10 really easily. But yeah, it's a very fun conversation to have. We're going to have a lot more like that, I'm sure, coming up.
For sure. All right, next up, Ravens, Giants. Ravens win 27-13. Lamar continues his good playoff run here. 183 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, ran 13 times for 80 yards. Just a really, really solid day there. Gus Edwards, 15 carries, 85 yards. Dobbins, 11-77. Solid games for both of them. Mark Andrews, 6 for 76. Marquise Brown caught himself a touchdown. But Lamar just kept, a good playoff run. So if you stuck with him or if you traded for him, you feel pretty good. It worked out, I think, pretty well for you. Giants, really not much here. Daniel Jones threw for a touchdown. Threw it to Sterling Shepard, who was 9 for 77, so he had a solid game. But Wayne Gallman only carried the ball 6 times for 27 yards, so not much for the Giants. Then how about Bengals Texans? Bengals win 37-31, which is actually kind of a surprise today, in a way, with starting Brandon Allen, who went 29-37 for 371 and 2 touchdowns. Very solid day for Brandon Allen.
Kind of went off.
He did.
Very impressive.
Yep. T. Higgins caught 6 of those balls for 99 yards and a touchdown. Alex Erickson, I remember that name from last year. I haven't heard him like at all this year. 6 for 88. Gio caught 7 balls for 66. AJ Green, 4 for 64. Samaje Perine, 4 for 41. He also ran the ball 13 times for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. That guy's getting himself a second look in his career here. It was really surprising. Samaje Perine, he's one of those names where if you played him in the fantasy playoffs or the championship today for some odd reason you had to, he's winning people titles.
Yeah,
I mean, that's crazy to me. 136 total yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a massive game right there. Really, really solid. Did not expect that. You probably didn't play Samaje Perine, but hey,
I don't know too many people.
Somebody did. Somebody did.
Yeah,
one person did. I mean, it would not have been because of us. So for Houston, Deshaun Watson threw for 324 and 3 touchdowns. Really solid there. Brandon Cooks, 7 for 141 and a touchdown. I mean, Brandon Cooks, that guy's talented, but you can never trust him. It's just.
I mean, you can't, but he's done well this year. And
yes,
drafted him very low. Like I mean, I was a big proponent of his. I love the guy, so I'm going to give him, more love. He really has. He has stayed relevant. I mean, that's all I can say. He keeps getting passed around, but I don't know why he keeps getting passed around. That's a big question.
I know. Another one. He's going to probably be ranked down there next year.
I mean, look at these numbers. Yeah. 7 for 141 and a touchdown. God.
Well, then how about David Johnson today? 12 for 128 and a touchdown. He caught 3 balls for 11 yards and a touchdown as well. So David Johnson has all of a sudden – he did something. If you had David Johnson in your title game today, there he goes.
Let's be honest, you did not.
Hey, it happened in our league.
I know that's true, but you know what? I don't know. I can't get behind it.
All right, here we go. Final one of this episode. We got Chargers beat the Broncos 19-16 in a game that wasn't terribly interesting. Herbert, we talked a little bit, 253 and a touchdown for him in this one. Threw that touchdown to Eckler. Not a lot going on here without Keenan Allen. It kind of, hurts that offense. Austin Eckler ran the ball 10 times for 45 yards. Broncos, Drew Lock. There's the Drew Lock I know and love. Threw for 264, no touchdowns, 2 picks. And he did run for a touchdown. Hey, I'll give him that. Melvin Gordon led the way, 17 carries, 79 yards. Really not much in the air there. Noah Fant, 6 for 65. Deshaun Hamilton, 5 for 77. Not the greatest of days there for fantasy overall in that game. But, all right, that'll do it for part 1 of our Week 16 recap. We'll be back tomorrow with the last we got 7 more games to talk about for you. Talk to you guys then.